Dave from Midwest Sports. We're here to talk about what Wilson is calling a racket revolution. This is the Wilson Clash. And we were fortunate enough to take a little trip up to Chicago back in the fall, and Wilson gave us some insights, didn't exactly tell us too much about what was going on with what has turned out to be the Clash. They just gave us kind of this spy photo looking racket, kind of a tweener design, 100 square inch head, felt about 11 ounces, felt pretty good, but didn't tell us a whole heck of a lot about it. And as we learned more and more, they told us a little bit more and more about it, and the ideas behind it are really, really cool. And they are things that you can really feel when you play with the racket. So when we get into it, the design is, great looking cosmetic here, kind of ties in with their minimalist looking graphics they use on their other models, the Pro Staff, the Blades, Ultra, and so on. But something a little unique's going on here because it's got a little different beam geometry. Looks just a little different than some of the other rackets in the line. It's a 100 square inch head. It's about 11 ounces strung, so pretty safe in terms of specs. Beam, a little wider than some tweener rackets, about 24.5 millimeters, but not so much that it's cumbersome. I hit with a semi-western forehand, low to high, top spin, all that kind of stuff. And it's not so wide that it gets in the way by any stretch. Some of the really unique concepts with the Clash. So the whole idea with Clash is that it's a clash of kind of a mashup of power and control, of flexibility and stability. And what Wilson's been able to achieve with this racket is it's incredibly flexible. So you can tell that the first time you hit with it. And in terms of traditional bending, those of you that know Wilson's stiffness index ratings they've used over the years, they used to put this on all their rackets, Pro Staff 6.1, Hyperhammer 5.3. That was actually a measurement of how many millimeters the racket bent, just in traditional bending. Well, this thing would rate 11.2 on that scale. So it's off the charts in terms of flexibility on Wilson's scale. So it feels very flexible. They use a concept called free flex though. So what it does is it allows the racket to be very flexible, not only in a traditional sense, but also in the vertical sense. We'll have a little video in here that kind of shows that as well, but the head not only flexes traditionally, but it also flexes vertically. So the idea with that is because so many people hit with a low to high swing plane, topspin players, that's how you generate topspin, right? You swing low to high, come over the ball. And the free flex technology allows this racket to flex in a way that really no other racket to this point has been able to do. And the great thing about it is you hear flexibility, you start thinking, oh, well, it's going to feel like rubber, it's going to feel like mush, not responsive. Not at all, because they've also then perfected a frame geometry called Stable Smart, which then allows the racket to flex more or less in the dimensions that you want it to, but then to stay rigid and stable in the dimensions that you want it to stay stable. So basically the racket feels really solid, really crisp. You really feel like you can take a full swing at the ball, and Wilson's claiming a 23% dwell time improvement. I don't know if I can quantify that, but I can say that you do feel that. The idea behind dwell time is that the longer the ball sits on the string bed, the more directional control you have of it when the ball comes off the string bed. So dwell time is generally speaking a good thing. And for a better player, somebody taking a nice full swing at the ball, that's where your control comes from. So just a really solid all-around package. Again, nobody's really done this before. You may not look at it and say, wow, there's not a lot of bells and whistles and visual cues on this racket other than the really cool paint scheme. But what's under the hood is what counts. And the Clash really does a nice job, again, with the free flex technology, Stable Smart technology, just really adding a nice level of flexibility, control, but stability at the same time. So they really knocked it out of the park. This is the Wilson Clash.